Hello, everybody. Bobbie the Awesome here with one of my fellow co-authors for our book, Belonging, Secrets to Soothe the Soul. Today, I'm joined by Miss Rosemarie Allen. Hello, Rosemarie.
Hi,
How are you today?
I am awesome as always. Thanks
Yes,
for having me on your podcast.
of course, of course. We're going to have you everywhere. This book is a big deal. Uh,
For sure.
So, why don't you start us off by telling us a little about yourself and what brought you to want to be one of the co-authors of this book?
Okay. So for me, I am originally from Jamaica, and I decided to write this book because I fell in love with a group of women that we joined in the heart of the pandemic, and we became so close, and we found that we had something to talk about. And so we decided to write a book. And so my story in the book is Treasures at the End of the Rainbow. And when you read my story, you'll understand why. Because life has been challenging, as many of you know your lives are. So mine too is one of those where there's a lot of challenges and triumphs. And so I'm able to see things through different lens at certain times in my life. And so that's how everything started, where we decided to write the book. And that's how I became one of the authors. So my story talks a little bit about my beginning, where I was fostered as a child. My mom abandoned me on the streets of Kingston, Jamaica, with a stranger, and then I was raised in an orphanage and then fostered by a foster family. And through that, I had a lot of different challenges that I have to deal with. And so that's how my story came about, was talking about the challenges that I actually went through and how triumphant it was at the end, and knowing that the things that happen to you do not define you. And so this is what my story is all about, is telling the other side about the treasures at the end of my rainbow. And the goal is that other people will be able to read my story and find also their treasures at the end of their rainbow.
Do did you write it through the lens of speaking to specifically foster children and people who have gone through the system in that way? Or who would be your audience for your chapter if you had to define it?
I would say that people who are feeling lost, um, yeah, people who have been fostered or adopted or lost a family member or parent, especially a parent. I think that would be my audience for sure, but especially people who have been through the foster care system.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I think I heard you say, and I think this is the theme of the book, and correct me if I'm wrong, we talk about life experiences and then how we've become a group of women that are successful, that are living gratitude, that have connection now. Was that your intention
When
to?
we first started writing,
Yes.
um, I don't think so. I think my intention was just to let other people know that even though you've been through challenges, there's always a different way to spin your challenge, or to look through different lens to see it, that it's not all bad. And sometimes the things that happen to you that you think is bad at that moment can be your greatest teachers. So that's the story that I wanted to have people know, that yes, this happened, but you don't have to live in that space. You want to move on from that space and spin it from a negative to a positive.
I love it. I love it. We have a choice. And that's what I'm hearing you
Yes.
say is we have a choice. And I had this amazing question and I'm stalling because I lost it. Oh, I know what it was. I know what it was. So when did you go, like, I don't, I didn't know you back then, right? Were you ever in that victim mindset? And if you were, how did you get from victim to grateful to being comfortable enough to be vulnerable sharing your story? Can you talk to us about those stages?
Yeah. For sure. I was in the victim mindset for a time of my life, especially in my younger years, because I just couldn't understand how a person could have their challenges, pass them on to somebody and walk away and never look back. I just never got that. And then after living in a foster home and dealing with all the different abuses that I dealt with, I couldn't understand that either. How could someone take someone in their home to take care of them as their own kid and then turn around and do the things, between both foster parents? I suffered at their hands. I've been through every abuse that you can think of. I've been through that. So, of course, it had me questioning God because these people were Christians. They were religious people. One was Catholic and one was Baptist. My foster father was Catholic. My foster mother was Baptist. And yet I think, the worst traumas through those hands. So it's got me thinking that how could God be around and allow these things to happen? And in my story, I was praying for a lightning bolt to strike my foster father. That's how bad it was. And so, I grew up with that kind of mentality, thinking that in my whole life I wanted to have a family of my own. And so that led to me having my kids very young. I was 16 when I had my first child. I got married very young to get away from those things that were happening to me. And so I was going on with my life. And then, I became more grateful when I met my husband because I was taken away from that. So he was like one of the most important people in my life because he came and he rescued me. And I had a family, and his family, they accepted me with open arms. And there was so much love in that family. Everybody has their ups and downs, but that showed me some of the things that I've been missing and never had before. And that was like really, really awesome for me. And then I started thinking, I used to have nightmares as a kid because of all the things they talk about with religion and hell and brimstone. And I would have nightmares. So as I got older, a friend of mine invited me to this program called the Gratitude, I think the Gratitude Master program or something. I can't remember the exact name now, but I went, and then that's when my first window of spirituality started coming through. Is that we choose how we live, we choose where we want to be, we choose what we want to believe. And that's when I first started shifting my mindset and shifting the lens through which I was seeing everything through. And then I got into Abraham Hicks, which is another spiritual teacher, and I started following Dyer and a bunch of these different spiritual teachers, and it totally shifted my life and the way I saw things. And that's what brought me to this point where I felt like everything that happened to me happened for a purpose. And this was supposed to happen to me so that I now can look back on those things and those stories to say to myself, wow, you know, now when I look back when I was younger, I was like, I hated my life at that time when I was a kid and growing up. But now when I look back, I have no remorse, no animosities. I feel like everything that happened to me happened for this purpose. And the whole goal of that was to bring me into this beautiful human being that I am now. I love myself and I love what I do and I love who I've become because of all of that. So my message to people out there is that yes, you go through things, but it all depends on how you look at it and where your perspectives are. So you want to see things and how is it going to benefit you and benefit the people that you impact. And that's how I look at my life. I'm an acupuncture physician here in Jacksonville, Florida. I have a wellness center and I see patients, and that's how I lead with my heart with my patients. And everything that I've learned through my life is coming handy now for even some of my patients, that I can talk to that stuff, that, that whatever their incidents or trauma or challenges, it's more like being a therapist sometimes because I'm trying to console along with healing. And that's my goal. I'm a healer and a helper.
That is so beautiful, Rosemarie. We've never had this conversation before, like this part about finding our purpose and really changing from victim to grateful. And I resonated with so much of what you said. And if I did, I know that the audiences are gonna as well, because I think we all come from maybe that's irresponsible of me to say all, but a lot of people come from a place where it is very easy to say, why me?
Yeah.
Or to think that we're alone in our pain and our struggles. So I love that is your message. I know that we're on these 15-minute is our goal, but is there
Yeah.
anything that you want to say that I haven't given you an opportunity to?
Not really. I think I just want people to know that these videos that we're doing is just to share with everybody, a little piece of each of the authors so that they can get familiar with the faces behind the names of the story and the story itself. And to know that everybody in the book shared from their heart. There's some rawness and some vulnerability in the book, and please appreciate it for what it is.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I look forward to sharing you with the world.
Thank you, Bobbie. Thank you so much.